Sunday, November 12th. 24 degrees outside. Nice clear day. No tree. I mean, not like it would come back, right? And coming out to do some cleanup because I have got a mess. I was working on a little something and it's not panning out the way I wanted. So what I decided to do was just stop mid everything. So I'm gonna clean up. Someday maybe there'll be a video about effect pedals and all that other stuff. Just wasn't quite working the way I wanted it to, given the current setup. See, I need to get some new weather stripping for that side of the door. Much better on that side. I adjusted the top a little bit. It's a little better. Ain't great. Still need to get that little pad thing to go up there. But this side is the bad side. We'll pick some of that up this week, I think. We're at 60 on this end of the room. Heat's running. Got it set to... It's either set to 62 or it's currently feeling 62. One of the two. Yeah, it's been good. It's been good coming out and just, things being things. But I've got to clean up out here. I'm going to bring some furniture out. I got that cabinet to set the power mixer on, and it's just... I need to set it on something to get it up so I can open the doors. Because they kind of drag on the floor a bit, and I don't want to be doing that. So, first things first, I'm going to go through all this, pack it away. Keep the cabinet out here, but I think I'll put it behind this. I need to do something with that. At one point, if you recall, when we were still working, we had both of those over there and a board going across the top. I could probably do that. Put it along this wall and just have like a long table kind of thing. But this stuff is so flexy. Couldn't really put anything on it. I hate to cut it up though. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But today is going to be a day to just come out, clean up, kind of try and organize it to be a little bit of a usable space. Now that I've got it and it's set up enough that I can really start, not just putting it together, but I can use it. I've got the itch, man. I need to write some music kind of itch. And it's probably not going to be... Oops. Let's talk about this for a minute. This is a stand from Hercules. It holds 5 guitars, as you can see. Was fine. They really skimped out on the padding, though. So that, those don't really need to be there. But like this piece back here, this is all pipe insulation that I bought. Because as I was using this, I found myself nothing ever up here or way down here, but right here. I was banging into that all the time, and that really seems like an oversight on their part. I've had some Hercules stuff before, and it's been fine. This is a Hercules thing, a little tablet holder. And I've had some Hercules stuff that's been terrible. So this kind of sits in the middle. This case will hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 electric guitars. I think it'll hold 4 or 5 acoustic guitars. And it's just better. There's more room. There's nothing. Everything's padded. Everything's got that kind of faux carpet stuff on it. It's just better. The problem is it's a lot heavier. And another thing this one's got over what the Hercules has is it's got storage down here in the sides. So straps, cables, whatever, just throw them in there. Yeah, this I like this much more than that. That's a Stag. Another fine quality product from Stag. Like I said, man, it's cheap, inexpensive stuff, but it's been good to me. Very few Stag things have I ever had have not worked out. I had a couple of cables that weren't great, but that green one and that blue one are Stag cables, and I use them. I've got Stag cables in my gig bag. You know, when I go and play, they've been fine. Got some of their microphones. They're great. Some little condensers, pencil condensers. Some of the best condenser mics I've ever used. Pencil style, anyway. Okay. Yeah, start cleaning up. In that crate over there, that little container with the white lid, is this Yamaha recorder that I've got. I want to get it set up somewhere. I want to bring out, I've got this really old little desk dresser thing, credenza, I don't know. That was my grandfather's. I think it was my grandfather's. And my grandma, bless her heart, painted it and did all this other stuff to it, and it's just a disaster. But I kept it after they both passed away. And I'm going to bring it out here. It needs stripped down to nothing and then refinished and all that. But it's a better height. It's a little wider, and it's got 2 good-sized drawers on it. It'll go right there. We'll just scoot these other things over sideways. Do that this afternoon. Right now, it's just full of a couple 100 feet of what is probably like Cat 3 cable. It's really old. Oh, you remember those? I found them. They were still in there. Probably not going to use them. Excuse me. All right. Let's talk more worky. Okay. Small change of plans. I mean, cleanup is mostly done. It's about 9:30 now. I decided instead of bringing more stuff out, like from the house out here, I needed to get things out of here. So most of the tools are put away. I still have some of the power tools here. That's going to be fine. Took the 3 racks, set them up right there. Might go ahead and kind of wire one of them up for use. I don't think so. The top one, that's a power conditioner or a power panel. I've heard them called about 9 different things. What it is, each one of those switches has an outlet on the back, so you can turn on individual outlets. Might hook that up. And that one on the bottom is a headphone amp. Might be handy to have. Just moved that over there. Stack those. I threw this up on some blocks. 1/4-inch cables, mics. Speaking of mics, I grabbed all the microphones from inside the house. Put the extra Velcro for the pedal boards. Might work on those today. But yeah, we got a couple few in there. An 80, it's a CAD. This is my, yep. Okay, this, for a long time, this was my favorite mic ever. This is an 80 SPC15. It's a condenser mic. The reason I quit using it is because I didn't have phantom power. And it wouldn't actually work with any of my live PA. Very good microphone, though. Actually, this one did break on me. I had to reattach a ground. The ground came off. I was a little nervous because I didn't want to break it. I love this mic. I think it's a great mic. Anyway, plan is, if I can make it work, we'll kind of revamp that bottom shelf where the mics are. Because there's a mic bag over there. So whatever from there can go in there, will go in there. I'll see if that'll fit. I don't think it will. If it won't, it will go back in here. Because that box right there is a set of Samson drum mics. So it can go in there somewhere. I wonder. We're going to look at something. It is now an even 60 on the opposite side. That's still reading 62. Maybe I didn't. Maybe that. I set this without pointing it at that. Because it's actually like an IR thing. Oh, will this work on phones? It will. Yeah. Cameras will show the light. Okay, so I'm going to put this guy right there for now. And we'll see how much, because it feels pretty good in here. Like, it's not cold. It's not too warm. It feels pretty good. I need to get rid of that box. I think there should be a lid to that box around here somewhere. Ain't that one. Ain't that one. This is such a mess. It's such a mess. You could probably go through that crate, store some of those, and then throw that crate away because it's in pretty rough shape. That was a little scary. I think all that's got in it is some drum stuff. That's drum stuff. That's drum stuff. And that cable snake. So I could probably reorganize that a bit. Yeah. Feeling good about it. I mean, it's still, you know, a bit of a mess, but I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think today I'm going to take some pictures. We'll list those and that for sale. Because honestly, I bought them to upgrade those little ones. But, you know, here's what I don't like. This Samson, I'm actually plugged into that right now. It is a powered speaker, which means it needs AC power. And then you have to plug your whatever into it. So you need 2 outlets, one for each speaker. Same thing with those. Most of the places I go, that's not great, which is why I have stuff like this. That means I plug that in, 1 outlet, power. It's more efficient for my setup to do it that way. About these, because some venues, these were just a little too small, and these were just a little too big. But now, honestly, I could really do 2 of those. Because you can chain those together. I don't know. But I know I don't need, 3 pair, 4 pair of speakers. Plus, if I get another one of those, 5 pair. And then I've got a floor monitor in there. And then this little guy. And then that little guy. That's got too much stuff. But that little head will power those pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. I'm going to keep this little Yamaha head here because it's great. And then somewhere in there, I've got a bigger PV head that will run a pair or 2 pair, both of those. But there's the transformer is loose and I need to open it up and fix it. Because I don't like it rattling around, man. You don't want that. So, that's kind of what we're looking at now. It still feels pretty good in here. You know what I mean? Just, it feels fine. If I'm going to do any work, I need to get a table to put that recorder that's in that thing on. And I need to find a place to put that vacuum. I need to clean out the shed, but I think that's going to wait till spring. I think that's going to have to wait till spring. Anyway. A little more. A little more. I got a pile of cables to go through there. Box of microphones there. Here's the recorder. Pretty. That looks terrible on the video. That's pretty close. Pretty basic thing. For as old as this is, it was pretty standard that they worked like this back in the day. Inputs. Screen, obviously. All your utility stuff over there. Outputs. Master. There's so much that this can do that I don't use any of. I'm a big believer in going as analog as possible with a lot of stuff. So it's got built-in EQ and compression and effects, and I don't use a ton of that. I use my exterior stuff, and it's just what I do. I don't do any of my editing on here. My belief has always been, if you can't do it live, don't do it in the studio, kind of a thing. So there, a few exceptions. Like I've recorded some songs where I've done harmonies with myself. That's a little different. But I'm not doing 5 different bass lines at the same time and all this weird stuff. So that's kind of my opinion on it. What I usually do with this is I record everything onto it. You got all these available tracks. Master it here, at least volume wise, get the mix right, and then I send it out, not via the USB, but via either the 1/4 inch or the headphones, depending on what I'm working on. Send that to my computer. Unfortunately, I don't have any analog mastering equipment. And there I'll do my final compression, overall EQ, volume adjustment, and all that. But yeah, this is it. All of the albums I have written and recorded, except one, were recorded on this kind of guy right here. My very first one was done with a PV RQ200 6-channel mixer that I wish to God I still had. And a Cakewalk a million years ago. And the version of Cakewalk I had was basically this much of this. It was just 6 tracks. Did everything on that. In the bathtub in there, there's a Yamaha PSR 360, 630, something like that, portable keyboard. And it had a sequencer on it. You could record your own parts and loop them. All the background instruments were done on that. I didn't have drums at the time. I didn't have a bass guitar at the time. I didn't have enough tracks in Cakewalk to do all of that at the time. So I played the bass guitar, the drums, the keyboard, any other parts on the keyboard, recorded it, had to quantize it, loop it, played that into Cakewalk, and just A section, B section, verse, chorus, intro, outro. Had to play it, count it. How long is this verse going to be? Okay, so I need to loop this 16 times. At the end of the 16th time, you hit the button, it switches over to the B section with the little transition. You do that 8, and you got to count it, then, back and forth like that. There's only one song on that first album that had any lyrics on it. Thank God. Thank God for everybody. So it wasn't like super complicated and super important to do it right. It's just, can I do it? And I did it. I don't know if it was good or not. That's for you to decide. Living in Genesis is the name of the album. I thought that was a good debut album title. Anyway, everything else was done on this. I had drums, I had bass guitars, no keyboards. I'm a terrible keyboard player. I'm not even a keyboardist. I'm a keyboard player because I just play with them. Yeah, every other Argonaut was done on this. Good Pirates was done on this. Bellmaker was done on this. Our Day Will Come was done on this. And my John Prine album was done on this. My James McMurtry album was done on this. And my Songs to Drink Whiskey 2 album was all done on this. So there's a lot in it. I don't like these sampler things. Never used them. Rarely did I use the mark in and outs. Usually if I was recording somebody else, we'd use those. But yeah, what you do, hit the record button. You're now ready to start arming. So if you want to input 1 to track 1, puts a little line. Maybe you want to do 2 to 5, puts a little line. Now you're ready to record. You hit record, you're recording. You hit stop, you go back. If you hit the view button, you can cycle through some presets and all that. But if you hit the track button, you'll see you've recorded on track 1 and 5. And how far. It's been a damn good unit. It's got a CD burner in it. I've never taken the time to learn how to use it. Excuse me. Yeah. Gonna get some pedals out. Oh, I found one I left in the house. This old crybaby 535Q. I don't know if we'll do anything with that today, but I'm just gonna work. If I get something kind of sort of sorted out, I will I'll let y'all know. I may have to dig out that keyboard right there in that bag on top. That one. Because I don't remember how to get to the metronome on this. And I'm going to want some drums. And I may just use the preset drums in that keyboard for this. I don't know. But yeah, I think we're fairly good enough. We can start.
Coast to coasters, watch them go. And I don't blame them one damn bit if they never look down on this. How much down here they'd want to know. Just leveling.
That was the only song I could think of off the top of my head that I could remember all the way through. Yeah, so that and 80, that Stag, and plugged in to that, threw some reverb, a little bit of EQ on it. There you go. There's the whole thing. It's November 16th, I think, pretty sure. Haven't been out in a few days. Actually had someone ask me about some cabinets, so I might be getting rid of those, which, great. Not so much stuff on the floor, but I'm going to put all my cables. That top shelf is all 1/4 inch. That middle shelf is all XLR, minus those on the floor and on the bottom. That one's pretty much empty. I could get rid of them and it wouldn't hurt my feelings none. I know we talked about doing like a built-in thing here. And I almost thought using those as part of it, like bookend kind of thing. Have that dresser kind of thing on the bottom. Shelf, cabinet, shelves between, but I could build a cabinet. That ain't a big deal. Excuse me. Yeah, haven't really done anything all week. My boss has been gone, so I've been working solo, which it ain't bad, but the workload does not go down just because there's fewer people. So I've been busy at work. So I don't know if you can see it. See that little guy right there? That is being pushed by the heater right over there. I can't feel the air. Well, just barely. Just barely, man. 64 over there. 58 over here. Perfectly comfortable. I did turn it up to 64 from 63 when I got in. And before I played the music for you guys. That was running when I recorded. Nothing. Not an errant breeze was heard, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, I'm pretty good about the whole thing. What did we say? 1, 2. And then when we do this wall, so a little more insulation to get, but not bad. Speaking of, I did get some more weather stripping for the door because I had one in the house that I needed to redo. I don't remember if we even looked at that or not, but we're a little better. I still got just the tiniest gap up there. Just the tiniest, and I'm unsure because like I could do the thing where you just bend the hinge a little bit to pull it farther, but we're real close down at the bottom because it's not the door, right? We talked about that. The door's fine. It's the jamb that's screwed up. I mean, you can see we're real close down there. We're closer up there. We got a big old hole there. And it looks like the door leans this way, right? Because the gap is bigger on this side than it is this side. But you throw a level on it and the door's level. So, and then the back is pretty good. A little closer there. And then it looks like it's leaning that way. But again, level there means level there and level there. So plumb vertically, excuse me. I don't want the carpentry enthusiasts to get upset with me. Yep, I'm kind of waiting to do any big cleanup until I'm told if I'm getting rid of these or not. If I am, like I said, it's not going to break my heart too much. I would actually kind of love another one of these. This 5 height thing. Just because that's been really great to have. But I don't have another one of those. So, we'll see. I've been kind of thinking on this bathroom thing. One thing I am going to need out here, just, to keep me honest, I guess, is I need a coffee pot out here. I need to be able to make coffee, drink coffee, enjoy coffee. What did Dr. Daniel Dranglehart say? Eat milk, be milk, think milk. It's pretty much that. We know the bathtub's going away completely. Originally, plan was we'll move the toilet over to where the bathtub was and turn it this way. And then sink can go over here. Might still do that. I don't know with this being set up the way it is. I would need to run, and this is totally doable because we could frame this wall in, run all the plumbing in and around that way. For the most part, the toilet is what is going to be the issue. If I don't know how big the drain is under there or under the tub. It should be bigger than for the tub. Doesn't mean it is out here. If it's the same size, no sweat. We're good. Golden. Let me fix it. For not, we'll figure something out. But yeah, would like to get a sink out here, just like a little single basin thing, so I can fill a pot, brew some coffee, all that. But that'll be a project for another day. So still scratching my head on this one a little bit. I do kind of want to get rid of this wall because there's no reason for it. And this had a door on it, and as you can see by the strike plate and where it was hinges, it would open this way, but the sink stuck out so far. I don't know how you would have opened the door to give you any sort of usable access. Plus, you can see where the water heater stopped right there. So, I mean, really, you had like 3 feet of closet. So this wall might come down. I don't know. Wanted to address that a little bit, talk about this a little bit since it's been a few days. Haven't got the bill for the second electrician visit. Just kind of waiting for that. Wanted to talk about this because I have already had somebody, well, not approach me, but somebody tell me this is supposed to wrap around this way, and you're supposed to staple it this way. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does not make a difference if you put the staple over here or you put the staple there. If it's tight there or tight there, it's still tight. It doesn't matter. On the ceiling, it's a little different because, gravity is a thing. But on these, it's not a big deal. So you get anybody telling you, you're doing it wrong, dummy. Worry about that. I've been thinking about how I screwed that outlet box over there up so bad. And I think part of my problem, I have never really used these more designer, decorative, I don't know what you call them. There's a word for it. These kind of outlets before. I've used, the traditional kind of round ones, and they mount to the box different. They've got a little tab thing. It's a little different setup. These kind of sort of have it, but not quite. So looking at it, I'm not 100% sure that the way my hole cutter works is going to be adequate for these, which is fine. I can work with it. Not a big deal. But yeah, it just might be a little obnoxious getting it set up quite right. So I said I'm going to patch that, and what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go about 6 inches from the box, and we'll just cut a whole chunk out. We'll put a new chunk in. That's how we'll do it, because we're going to mud it, tape it, all that stuff. Thinking about the walls, speaking of, I'm going to put the sheetrock up, the drywall. That's a given. What am I going to do with it is another thing. But if we're going to be filming stuff, maybe like make one of the walls kind of green. Just have like a 4-foot wide green spot for green screen stuff. But I don't do any of that nonsense. Right? I know if I don't do it, I'm going to wish I had. And I know if I do it, I'm never going to use it. You ever get those situations? Well, one thing I want to do, regardless, is I've had this idea in my head, and I think it will work pretty well. I want to go and find some old beat up shipping pallets, and I want to do a wall. Not this wall. No, not this wall, but maybe the 2 exterior, the shorter walls. And what I'm thinking I want to do is, you do the whole wall, so it's looks like barnwood kind of a thing almost, except we're going to go horizontal, not vertical. But when did I do that? I tell you, I need to treat myself like I've got leprosy and just check myself. I may one day wreck myself if I don't. Anyway, whole wall, and then just every so often, just double it. So it's not flat, so it gives it some depth and texture. Makes it look kind of 3D and kind of neat. And not that the space is so big. And once there's, furniture in here and carpet and all that, we're really not going to need to add any acoustic treatment. I think it would make it a little more visually interesting and interesting in terms of sound. We'll see. I know that there's so many different schools of thought when it comes to like recording. And look, I'm not obviously, we're not going to record the next AI Beatles album in here. Because that was an idea that they had, that somebody put money down on that. Probably Paul McCartney. But here's the thing. I have noticed looking into recording, visiting a couple of places where professional recording happens, hearing my own recordings in various rooms, master tracks online recorded in sound booths versus big open halls and all that kind of stuff. I don't like a sound booth unless you're doing a reading. I've read some I've read some books, turned them in, because you don't read an audio book. I read a book and then it became audio. I've done some readings and things like that where it would be nice to have had that extra isolation. However, for the most part, I haven't really needed it. The podcast, same kind of thing. But what's different about the podcast as opposed to the readings is I have background music in the podcast, and that masks a lot. I wouldn't record drums in a little booth. I wouldn't want to record a guitar or a vocal track in a little booth. It's a personal preference, right? There's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. Anybody who tells you that you have to do it this way, or it's bad, or you're going to jail, you're going to recording studio jail, they are lying to you. There's no right or wrong way to do any of this stuff. There are better and worse ways. There are better and worse ways to do it if you're looking for a certain outcome. But there is no right or wrong way to do a lot of this work. So, what I have noticed and what I try and avoid is things that make it sound like you're not in the room with me. Whether it be music, video game stuff. I don't put a lot of post-production in my audio. I don't really believe in doing all of that. We talked about this once. If you can't do it live, don't do it on the album, kind of a thing. The same kind of thing. Like, I don't know. You see some like live footage, like Journey in Chicago, live at the hockey dome. I don't know. Does Chicago have a hockey team? They probably do. And, it sounds good, man. It sounds so good. But you're not hearing it, like what you hear watching it at home on your DVD, your Blu-ray, your streaming, whatever, is not how it sounded in the arena, because it's produced different. It's tweaked. It's EQ'd. The reverbs, all that, it's all just a little different. And so, like, when it's live, boom. Like, if I went and set my phone up and grabbed a guitar and played and recorded a thing, nothing mic'd, nothing whatever, just like we're doing now, it's going to sound different. Whereas if I recorded everything while I was playing that same song and then overlaid audio on top of that, I could take that audio and I could add a little delay, and I could just round off the highs a little bit. And there's so much you can do. It would sound better, but it wouldn't be that natural kind of thing. And I'm not saying I'm opposed to doing some production. I'm saying sometimes a lot gets hidden because of production, and some of it doesn't need to be hidden. Like, there's a lot of really good 80s songs that are just buried in excessive amounts of production. And there's a lot of songs that could probably have done with some better production. One of the things, like, I don't really care for Prince. I don't take anything away from his talent. He was a talented guy. He's a multi-instrumentalist, as am I, and a lot more people you might think of. multi-instrumentalists. Like, it's not like, oh my God, he can play 4 instruments. Well, if you can play one, you can probably play 2 or 3. You might only want to be really competent in one. I wish I was competent in one. I can, I do all right with what I have. But my point is, Prince wrote a lot of really good songs that I would really rather hear other people perform. And part of the reason for that is because I absolutely hate how his albums are produced. And this goes like a lot of different directions. Like I'm gonna admit something, and I'm ashamed by it. But you admit your problems and you can grow past them. There was a while I used to really enjoy listening to Metallica. I was just starting to play guitar. That was kind of the thing you did. So that's kind of what I did. And I learned a couple of the songs, and they were okay. They weren't super exciting or wonderful. I didn't really enjoy playing them. I really liked the, I think it was the S&M album. I thought that was pretty cool. And then, like, my musical direction shifted pretty hard. But I still remember when Saint Anger came out. And I had this problem with, like, Dream Theater. Dream Theater, oh God. I was really into Dream Theater for a while. It just was so poorly mixed. And Metallica, admittedly, I don't think has ever had a really well mixed album. There have been a lot of bad ones. I think it's even And Justice for All might have been the album I'm thinking of. There's a reason that you can't hear any bass guitar on it when you listen to it. That's because when they were mixing the album, good old I'm not the most important guy in the room all the time, Lars Ulrich, told the engineer, turn the bass down to the point that you can't hear it anymore, and now turn it down some more on the whole album. And so that's what they did, because that's what you do. Now Dream Theater went about it the other way, because the guitar player and the drummer produced the albums. They say, okay, guitar and drums, all the way up. Everything else, it doesn't matter. Really poorly produced albums. Saint Anger is one of those. If it's just, there's no dynamic range in anything. Everything is just like 10 all across the board, and it makes it really boring and hard to listen to. I've talked about this lots of times. I will continue to talk about it because I think it's important to know, especially if you're interested in any of this kind of stuff at all. Not nearly as popular an album, but Guns N' Roses put out an album about the same time as Saint Anger called Chinese Democracy. And that album is one of the most wonderfully produced albums. I don't really care for Guns N' Roses all that much. I think Slash is an overrated guitar player. I think Axl Rose is the Lars Ulrich of Guns N' Roses. I don't like that they decided to name every boss in Mega Man X5 after members of Guns N' Roses. But that's a damn good engineered album. Like, it just sounds really nice. Anyway, whole point about all of that mess. When I record a song or an album or anything, what I like to do is I want you, the listener, to get an idea of like if I'm right there playing and singing, I want it to sound to you like you're right here where I am now. I want it to sound like you're in the room. I want it to sound really natural. I want it to sound really warm. I want it to be, as analog as I can make it with the equipment I have. That's why I don't really like USB mics. I don't like using USB interfaces. And before anyone says anything, that is not a USB interface. That is all analog equipment right there. That's a little Samson S-Mix. Microphone goes in, RCA goes out. That's it. Doesn't even have EQ on it. It's just volumes. And I used that little mixer forever. I did have to switch to a USB audio interface for my new computer setup. because I needed something with phantom power, and that did not have it. So that's why the new setup is digital, and I don't like it as much. That's why I would much rather use this thing, like record from this into that, as opposed to going straight into that. Because that, while it is solid state, is still analog. Okay. Plus, that's just easier to work with. Man, I was installing some sound equipment for a theater that had just bought this whole fancy schmancy new digital mixing board, and it had and like 3 sliders, 3 faders, and like 48 tracks, and it had just a handful of knobs, kind of like the recorder over there does. And the guy was showing it to me, and he was really like, check this out, this is amazing, and this is great. I'm like, oh wow, that is really cool. Have you guys had a chance to use it yet? He says, no, we just got it hooked up the other day, we played some music through it. I said, well, that's awesome. I said, what happens though if, like, say you got a band up on stage? Oh, we would never stoop so low as to, yeah. I said, okay, fine, yeah, you guys are better than that, but let's just say you did, and let's say you're getting some mic feedback. What do you got to do to fix it? He says, well, I just turn this down. I said, okay, yeah, but what if you've got selected in your LCD screen there? What if you've got like the kick mic selected? Then we got it. Well, then I've got to push this and scroll this over a couple times and push this, and then I can come over here and I can push this to get it to volume, and then I can turn it down. I said, oh, so you can't just put the slider down? And he got kind of quiet, like he didn't understand. And I don't think in the moment he did, but I think the first time they had 3 or 4 mics set up and one of them was feeding back, I think he figured it out pretty quick. Anyway, I'm old and I'm kind of set in my ways. That's why, I mean, that mixer's, God, 8-9 years old at least. That recorder is way old. That keyboard is over 20 years old. None of my guitars, except for the new fretless bass, have active electronics in them. I mean, other than the acoustic electrics, which need it for the preamp, but bass amp from the 70s. I don't like amp modeling amps. None of that line 6 nonsense. Then there's a little THR right there, but that's different. That's my practice amp. Well, it was when I was in the house all the time. Anyway, point of all this long, boring talk is, it's been real nice out here. We have more work to do. I wanted to talk about a couple things. Why we had done things the way we did, why we weren't doing other things that we talked about doing, and then just, the mindset behind all of this. I want it to sound like you are in the room while I'm playing and recording and talking and all that. Because I don't want it to sound like, like listen to the radio and you get that one station that's just EQ'd so weird. It's like they got the lows cranked all the way and the mids all the way and the highs all the way the other way. And it makes this real big smiley face on your EQ. That's not natural. And I don't do that. I used to. I was young and stupid. I did stupid things. The point is, right? Natural. That's what we're going for. So we talked about bathroom. We talked about why I don't wrap my insulation. This wall, we went through that whole thing with getting the old paint off and all of that, and then I didn't finish it. And I didn't finish it because I decided this is what we were going to do. And there was no need to finish it. Everything's, I mean, this looks bad, but it's just dirt. Is just bone dry stuff. I could do something with that to patch it up. I don't have to do something with all this. We're just going to go over the top of it. So why bother? It's like, if you've got like a popcorn ceiling and you really hate it and you want to do something different, you could scrape all the popcorn off, make a gigantic mess over everything. You could rip all your ceiling down and replace it like we did in here, You saw what a mess that was. Or, here's the other thing you can do. Just put another piece of drywall over top of it. Right? If you've got fixtures, you cut a hole, you put a little box extension on your box, you just drops the whole thing down a 1/2 inch. And you don't have to mess with all that. And, you know, if you've got, you know, crown molding, you drop that 1/2 inch. Big deal. That is a lot easier than dealing with all the other stuff. You throw some glue on the back of it, you put it up, you put some screws in it, it'll never come down. It's fine. So the whole point that I was going to try and get to half an hour ago was like this. I could do something about that. I don't need to do anything about that. Patching that up is going to have no impact on what comes before it. Now, this up here, this is a problem, and that might have to be dealt with because that's going to stick out so far. So we'll have to come through and take this out. And I'm thinking if I take this piece of trim out, I'll just get right behind it and pop it off. I think it'll be that easy because I'm sure it's hollow back there. I'm sure there's no insulation or anything. So like right here where this 2x4 meets the cement, I'm sure we can fill that full of spray foam, and that would solve a lot of that problem. Look at that. We're up to 59. We even turned that back down. It's because I'm so hot. Damn right. Anyway, that's what's up, yo. We'll be back out someday. I was gonna do all these videos on pedals and mics and guitars and everything, and I've got some footage, and I'm gonna put it together. You'll have seen it by now, but I don't think I'm gonna do near as much of that as I thought I was. I don't think it's all that interesting to anybody. If y'all want to see it, leave me a comment, let me know, and we'll get a little more in depth with some of this equipment. But that's not why you're here. Or if it is, again, tell me. I'll share whatever. Anyway, I gotta go to the grocery store now and get some oatmeal. Because I am a terrible old man. That looked real bright until the camera focused, didn't it?